to Thursday Nighter, round two for the month of March. I am Michael Perry, and I'm pleased to be joined by National Master Okay.
Everybody.
Two quick announcements I wanted to mention. This Saturday at the castle, we do have kind of an Eddie's birthday. I believe it's a think. Let me pull it up here. So yeah, kind of a fun tournament. It's actually 4 rounds of game 30 plus 30. And rounds start at 10, and then the last round will be at 6 o'clock. But just kind of a one-day event. You can get in some chess, and Jacob Pikus is the TD on that one. So play in that, increase your rating, and wish Eddie a happy birthday. And then the only other thing I wanted to mention was kind of at the top level, the American Cup just finished up, and Minnesota's very own Alice Lee actually won the women's section. So big congrats to her. I read an article that this is now her third year in a row winning. So yeah, please do.
In that this is the 5th edition of the American Cup, and she's played in the final of all 5 editions.
Yeah.
She lost her first 2, I believe, to Irina Krush, and then has won the following 3. And I think it would be remiss if we didn't mention Minnesota's utter domination of American chess right now, because in the open section, Minnesota's own Wesley So won. So we're maybe representing. So let's proceed to our local games, our humble games here, and see how things went. So I'll be starting with Robert first, since his game is already done. Robert Donahue versus Tom Babcock, and see how this went. So we have a French that becomes a Sicilian. Now, I guess this doesn't have its own name yet, but if I'm not mistaken, this is a way that could turn into Sveshnikov, maybe, like with Bishop F4. I don't know. I don't know enough about the move order stuff here.
Me neither. Oh, it's definitely a Robert move.
Yes.
The game was pretty normal though for the first 9 moves.
Yeah. Robert was showing an amazing amount of restraint in the first couple of moves, and now we're back to Robert chess. So okay.
I'm not sure what Queen H5 does, and G6 only seems to help white, but I don't know.
I mean, this position is already pretty nasty for white. Besides the threat to the C pawn, there's also a threat to the queen with knight f3. Yeah, I'm not liking this for Robert. And yeah, Queen H5 just did not seem great, and G6 just wins the tempo. The queen isn't really well placed. He can't get his bishop from C1 into H6, and he's created a whole bunch of weakened squares in and around the center and the vicinity of his king. So it seems like, yeah, why not? If not, Thomas decides to take the pawn, and in compensation has a more solid position. Okay, that's interesting.
You're underdeveloped as it is.
And now you just blocked your bishop's chance of seeing daylight on the king side, and gotten double E pawns. I guess the best thing about the double E pawns is that they're not on an open file. So, and they are covering some squares in the center, but this is just not. Oh, now it's going to be a problem trying to defend the G pawn.
Now that king isn't, he's never getting castled. It's illegal
Yes,
according to the rules of the game.
he does. There is some. I mean, it's a silly observation, but the only piece on a light square is the light square bishop right now.
Yeah.
And now, actually, the only pawn on a light square is the e pawn. So it's like Robert's planning a dark square symphony here of sorts. Huh?
Yeah, that looks to be a rook. I wonder. Oh, was his queen getting trapped? I think his queen was getting trapped if he just moved his rook.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I wasn't sure. That's why. Well, this is actually not. We were so busy making fun in a way of Robert's approach. He didn't realize he had concrete threats here. So after knight here, rook c3 would trap the queen. That's impressive. So just like that, Robert gets an exchange, but his position's still not to be desired. It's just not good. It's interesting. The pawns, the e pawns, kind of cut the board in half from White's point of view, and his most powerful pieces can't get to the queen side, and so if Thomas can make hay on that side of the board, he'll be good. And well, he did have two powerful pieces on the king's side. Now there's just one. I'm not sure why he felt the need to play that.
I'm guessing he saw that Bishop H3 was there, and he's just like, "Oh, my rook's so bad, and I want to get my queen over to the king side,
Ah, yeah, yeah,
queen
yeah.
side,
Okay,
queen side."
that makes sense. Try and get some sort of play, but now black is just
3 pawns.
three pawns up. Oh, and he doesn't even get the chance to take the a pawn. So and the rest, as they say, is a matter of technique. Okay. It's hard to place that game, really. Um, so I suppose the summary is Robert played maybe a bit too aggressively in the opening with his pawns, and his pieces weren't able to cover the space left behind. He was able to find a clever maneuver, winning the exchange, but then gave the exchange back a couple moves later, and after that, Thomas' position just Thomas' position and his play got the job done pretty quickly. All right, let's see what's going on. I think there's one more game that's completed. Drew Johnson versus Evan Paxton. Let's see what happened here. So we have a Caro-Kann, two knights variation. For a while, Fisher experimented with this business. And I suppose if you haven't prayed for a move like knight d7 here, um, as a white player, then you're not being honest.
Maybe that's the trick he was going for.
Yes, I think this is actually. I don't know if this is a thing, but it seems that that might have been what it was going for because lots of times black players want to wrap those knights around, and yeah, that walks straight into that uh, business. Okay, so Mr. Johnson is really a trickster, isn't he? I don't know how much of this is book, but of course the idea is you could take my queen, but I take your king. So white has actually cleverly gotten a pretty decent, a bigger development advantage than usual in these Caro-Kann positions. And on top of that, Evan's bishop is locked inside the pawn chain. So it'll be interesting to see how Evan turns his position around. Well, it starts with developing, taking some space on the queen side with tempo. Wow.
Yeah.
So
Whenever you move a piece, you leave undefended squares behind.
this is going to be an interesting one. So white is now,
Yeah, how does he lose this?
yeah, white is now two pawns up.
Oh, there's no need for that though.
Yeah, that's completely unnecessary.
In fact, wait, that loses a piece.
Yeah, because the knight's not coming home again, I
And the
don't
bishop's
think.
hanging.
Yeah, I mean, so it's check, so he has to deal with the check. White, black does,
He
but
just, yeah, takes the bishop. Yeah.
you just take the bishop, and
This is
so
weird. Bishop
so
A4 and white's doing well,
yeah, I
right?
guess retreat with the bishop, and you
He,
still have your gun loaded. Now, he had maybe he had concerns because of this,
yes,
but
this is true.
you can defend that guy with this. I guess this could happen next.
Yes, but even this, and this probably would have been how the game played out, but even this, after queen takes a6, I think I
Mm-hmm.
would still take white just because of
Yes,
like three connected passers.
yes. This will be the beginnings of an armada um, down the board. So yeah, um, and maybe that's what happened is after knight c6, Evan plays queen c7, Drew plays here, and only at this moment does he see bishop d7 and maybe panics. Not sure, but um, that said, okay, that's clever. That is a clever one. Rather than take the knight immediately but lose the b pawn, he saves the b pawn, understanding that the knight can't get back home.
So,
Yeah.
so Evan said that it's all book through b5. So I'm going back to the beginning and trying to wonder how b5 could be a book move. It must be because of this line. Well, so he said b5 is book. Now, if you,
Wow.
I know. So if you go to the master's database, it looks
Uh-huh.
like, yeah, b5. We have Wesley So, Jeffrey Zhang, and some other
Wowee.
grandmaster games.
So, okay. So, yeah, so there's Wesley So and Jeffrey Zhang, and then knight c6. was played in only 2 games out of the 230 games played in this position in the master database. Interestingly, if you look at databases and just focus on the statistics without actually looking at the games, you'd think knight c6 is probably just a decent move because the score is 50%, with one win and one loss. But and I don't know what the timing of this is. So 2024. The later game featured queen b6.
If I
And
had
not,
to guess, sorry to
yeah.
interrupt, but I'm trying to figure out why this is okay. Like, why is b5 okay? Is it maybe knight c6 and then queen c7 and then a bishop b5? Then we just play bishop d7, and then this looks better than the game because now if we try to protect that knight again, uh, we can play rook c8 and the pawn isn't like hanging on
But in this
the
case, he can retreat. See, the difference in
true,
the other
true.
line is that the knight can't retreat and also defend the bishop. So this is an interesting question. Why exactly is um and maybe this is White's idea is he's going to go for, so the thing is in this position in the games played, as I said, only 2 games out of the 230 featured knight c6. Every other game by people, there's So Shang, there's Rager Nisipiano, all these strong players, they were split between bishop d3 and bishop d3 and bishop b3 are the 2 main moves according to the database, suggesting that knight c6 is suboptimal. And it could be as simple as a6, giving black a good game if he goes for bishop a4. Maybe that's the point.
I'm wondering if we go back to knight c6, I'm thinking queen d6, and that way we're controlling the d4 square, so I can't come back with the knight. So like a queen d6, bishop b5, bishop d7. Now we're going
Queen
queen f3.
d6.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then bishop b5, bishop d7, and then probably queen f3. And maybe this is better for black, maybe queen d6. I don't know.
So we can just play here, right? I think.
Yeah, true, true. Hmm. This is tricky. Maybe we'll just have to look at the master's database.
Yeah, as I said, only two games reached this position in the master database. And in one of the games, black played queen c7 and won. And in the other game, black played queen b6 and white won. And so Evan obviously knows his stuff, playing the, I don't know what the objective evaluation is between the two, but I suspect Evan knew of this position going in. And maybe he can feed us some of the analysis about if white just has to agree to going for the bishop a4 line, or if knight a7, or maybe he shouldn't because he might want to use this on an unsuspecting victim in the future. So let's not have him share too many trade secrets. So yeah, this position is really interesting. is queen c6. And now all of a sudden, so the queen's defending b5, the knight isn't getting out. The king is still in the center, and the g2 pawn is attacked. So you probably have to deal with that. And so what do we have here? 2 pawns for the piece, but much better development. Wait a second. Yeah. Um, oh, that's how it ended quickly. Bang.
And the rook.
Nice, a nice distraction tactic, which unfortunately, so I mean, part of the reason it worked was because white's development was so behind, and his bishop is still on c1. So going back, I'm intrigued now. This is so all of this business is book.
But yeah, knight c6 is bad from what I saw. It's not a good move, which is why it doesn't get played.
Yes. Yeah, when you see 3 moves in the database, one gets 50%, the other one gets 49%, and the third move gets 1%, suggests there's something wrong with that. Or I guess the other possibility is that it's a brand spanking new move that the computer's just revealed. Would seem unlikely because I would imagine that these heavyweights would have put their computers to use in this position. So I guess in the future, bishop d3 or bishop b3 would be what Drew should consider here. Okay. That was actually an interesting and instructive fight for me. I, again, didn't know that was book at all. And it actually also reveals something else, that the top players are not, they don't feel ashamed playing for possible cheapos, right? Because one of the, right, this business here would seem like the sort of trap that you and I might try and set for an unrated player, but this is actual theory. All right. So let's see if there are any other completed games. Nope. So let's go to board 1 and start there. And so we have Simon Popkin, who had a decent game last week against Nate Hoover. And so we have what started off as a ready, it's now transposed into a Rogozin.
So, what's the difference between a Rogozin and a Nimzo Indian?
Well, the move order is a difference. There are certain transpositions that can occur. The main thing, and back in the day when purists would not want to play a pawn, black players would avoid playing d5, then that might be the one difference. But I guess technically speaking, if you go back, maybe look at the Rogozin. So look at the Rogozin as a Queen's Gambit Nimzo Indian hybrid. Might be the way to go. So instead of playing bishop e7, black is playing bishop b4. And yeah, there are some areas where they can transpose. For example, if it was
I just
here,
put it into our old friendly AI chatbot, and it says the Rogozin defense is a dynamic and flexible chess opening that blends elements of the Queen's Gambit decline and the Nimzo Indian defense, creating a
yes.
hybrid system that offers rich middle game positions.
Wow. So I could probably uh, cameo as AI, being that I
Yeah.
call it a hybrid. But yeah, it's what's different is I guess one area that might play to Black's advantages with this move order. He doesn't have to worry, at least initially, about same-ish style F3 E4 approaches because the white knight is already committed to F3. But these positions tend to have a life of their own and become very fascinating. Queen C2 is a normal move here, and the way White is looking at it is, yeah, I've taken a tempo to go A4 and I'm back to C2, but my queen often wants to be on C2, and it's not clear Black wants his knight on C6 in these D4 openings, at least not in front of the C pawn. And so Black is ahead of development. White's king is still stuck in the center, and Black is ready to open things up with E5 at some point. Probably after playing DC4, or maybe he'll just play it straight away. White hurries to finish his development to get his king out of the center. And now, just in time, White has castled, and the upshot of that is White doesn't have to break the tension in the center and can continue building, but he chooses to simplify things. And we have all these exchanges.
So what would have happened if D5, kicking the knight?
I would think probably something like this.
Then we had knight E5.
Oh, hold on a second. Yeah. So then, does he have to go all the way back here? That would
That's what
seem
I was
sad.
thinking. But yeah, this looks a bit sad for Black. And then I'm trying to find a good follow-up move for White. Maybe we just play like a queen B3, just line up with the bishop and I B7.
Mm-hmm. Well, I suppose maybe he wants to deal with the threat to B7 first. But okay, this is actually White probably doesn't want to get his pawns doubled.
Yeah, and yeah, we definitely have to move the knight here, but I think D5 would have been interesting.
Yeah, D5 definitely needed to be considered. Um, this approach just seems like it allows Black immediate equality. But then, of course, it's important to remember that it's the position's equal. It's not necessarily drawn. It's plenty of opportunity for both players to misplay it. And there was a game we saw, I think it was last week, or maybe it was a few weeks before. We have these positions that are equalish. Maybe the computer will give it the dreaded triple zeros. But they're asymmetric. There's an imbalance. In this case, a 3 versus 2 on the queen side versus a 4 versus 3 on the king side. And it comes down to which player knows what they need to do and how do they go about doing it. And already, I think Nathan has gotten a bit of an initiative. He's not necessarily automatically winning, but he's got his play going, and Simon hasn't got his going yet, anyway.
And I think this is very instructive. It's just the side that has the pawn majority, but with less pawns. I feel like there's an easier way to put that. But the side that has a
Yes.
pawn majority, but with a 3-on-2 versus a 4-on-3, is always going to be a slightly preferable. So it makes sense that Nathan is quicker.
Yep. And it also helps that he's pushing the play on the side where the kings aren't, because
Yeah.
if White's king was on the queen side, it would be able to help against this pawn advance.
Yeah,
And so
F4
both,
and King F2, King E3 is nice from Simon.
yes, yes, he his king um, at this point. So here, bishop back, and after bishop e6, which may or may not have been absolutely necessary at that point, um, f4, excellent move, allowing his own king to be king of the hill, getting to d4, where it can't be dislodged by a pawn, and gets there just in time. So at this point, I don't know whether instead of king f6, if Nathan should consider b4 here. Maybe there's no rush, but
I think it's my guess would be personal preference. You do need to be a little careful about not over pushing because White's king is going to be able to access the
d4.
D4 and C3 if he ever pushes too far. So
Yes, that's a good point. Okay, so White has made progress with the king side pawns, not as much as as Black has made on the queen side, but at least Black can't pretend he's playing without an opponent. Okay, now that's interesting. Let's go back a bit here. So g5.
yeah, no problem for White is he has G4 stuck on a light square.
Yeah,
I wonder if Nathan's simuling. He's down 40 minutes.
he probably is. I think I might have seen on the game list
Oh yeah, he's
where
playing Fusion.
he's playing Sri John. Okay. Yeah, but he has I like Black's chances better here. Um, White's pawn structure is less good, and White has an easily blockaded, isolated passed pawn on e4, and his rook is just better. So yeah, Black is for choice, um, without a doubt. Whether that translates into winning is a different thing, and especially when you consider the time discrepancy. So okay, we'll get back to this one in a bit. Oh wow, I don't know if maybe we'll call it a mini upset. So let's go see what's going on. What happened in this game? This was Jordan Tim versus Eddie Wasserman. Okay, so Jordan's been making some adjustments to his opening, but he returns to his long-term standby with the Jobava, and Eddie plays the sharp c5, and Jordan follows up with e4, which to me, I don't know if it'll transpose, but I know it's almost like a reverse Albin approach. So, like, if you go here, 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 the traditional approaches are e3, maybe c3, allowing a transposition to an exchange Slav. But then there's this beast, e4. I believe it's called Morris Gambit, and it becomes kind of like a reverse Albin counter gambit. So bearing that in mind, we look at the actual game moves here, and I don't know if this would transpose into one of those sublines. It just has that feel to it. But anyway, okay, now that's a different thing because in the other system I was talking about, maybe white is looking at playing d5 there. Oh. It seems like Jordan might have successfully pilfered a pawn.
Well, it's still equal at this point, but the e pawn is weak.
Yeah, we'll see if he's able to hold it.
Hmm. Probably not.
Yeah. Now that's an interesting move, that b6 from Eddie. Um, I
I
don't
guess you,
think.
I guess you can't play c6 because bishop b4.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That I don't know that that c6 is doable right there. So he tries this approach instead. Hmm. So he has successfully stolen a pawn in this variation, but it might be short-lived joy because both c pawns are going to be in danger. Hmm. So what's the idea?
And Jordan just likes a lot of active play, so he probably wants rook a7. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Okay. And
He is down a pawn now, but not a drawable.
yeah, with all the pawns on the same side, it's the drawing chances are high, but it's not drawn yet. It seems to me that Eddie's gotten a lot more out of this position than I thought he was going to.
Yeah, I think the problem is you can never push the G pawn without being left with the H pawn.
Yes. So Jordan's probably safe in the knowledge that he'd have to work really, really hard to lose this position. A good technique, moving the rook as far away from the enemy king as possible, creating checking distance, as they call it. Now that the black king is off, maybe somewhere at the French Riviera, um, a rook exchange is offered, which actually, if he were to take the rook exchange, would lead to a likely loss. I don't know. Can the black king get back on time?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, he does. So the position is still very much within draw territory.
Why did they play this out?
Oh man. Well, I don't know if you saw the games today at the American Cup. So so Alice won the first game in the Rapids, and then in the second game, she was able to get a pretty good position, but then decided to try and liquidate into what she felt was an easily drawn ending. And instead, um, Carissa was able to develop play. Fortunately for Alice, she was able to get things back together and get into an unbeatable position. And they now proceeded so it's now bishop of opposite colors. I think Carissa might have been a pawn up or something, but the pawn was going nowhere. And they played that for several moves, back and forth, doing this all over the place. And then when they got to get to the 50 move rule, Carissa now moves a pawn. So, there's no hope of Carissa winning as long as Alice doesn't make a blunder. But they kept playing and they were laughing. They're besties, so I guess it was their idea of fun.
And I saw a
But yeah,
clip where Krista even made an illegal move at one point, and when they were
yes,
playing, going back and forth, and she lost 2 minutes, but obviously it didn't matter.
yes, yeah. All right, let's go to see what's going on. This should be an interesting one between Noah and Jacob. Starts off with a Sicilian, close Sicilian, I suppose. No, I don't know. Is this the kind of Sicilian where White might be looking to play? Oh, that's a Grand Prix, which I'm not always sure when it's a Grand Prix versus a close Sicilian. But I think there's some F5 pawn sack that apparently is supposed to be diffused. They used to terrorize black players back in the 80s and 90s. With E5, White grabs space and is hoping to get a clamp on D6. Black responds immediately with D5, forcing white to declare their intentions. Exchanges occur. Now, white no longer has the space advantage in the center. Black's queen might be a little bit exposed. We'll see what happens with that. Oh, that's interesting. So white attacks the queen, get a tempo, but his uh, f pawn is hanging, and so effectively, oh, so what happens after a knight here? Just out of curiosity.
Oh, queen a5.
Ah, so Jacob's actually stolen something, right? Or are they equal? They're equal. No, they've stolen something. He's a pawn up. So let's see how he proceeds. That is aggressive. However, um,
I
I'm
just,
not
yeah,
sure how necessary it was. Huh?
same. Yeah, it seems way too aggressive and not needed. I mean, I get, he's worried about, f7 and he can't play knight e7, but was there no other way? Um, I guess it's more understandable the more I look at it, but maybe you have to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, the more you look at it, the more it seems like it might have actually been a necessary concession.
Uh-oh.
What is going on here?
Why why didn't he take on e6?
I don't know. I mean, what are we missing? So say knight here happens, for example. It just seems like a very miserable position
Yeah.
for um, for black, and even I suppose bishop e6 is possible. Maybe I don't know how this works out.
Yeah, I think this is also fine for white.
So, all right. Well, let's see. So bishop e5 um, didn't seem like the most intuitive move for sure. After king f8, so was the idea simply to prevent black from castling? Seems
Must have wait, what? Okay, I think we have some.
we have some transmission issues going on here. This cannot be correct at all. Well, the times, I mean, the clocks are still going, so I suppose, but that
No, no,
seems
this
very
is not
strange.
happening.
Yeah, it seems very strange. All right. So we have a visitor from the great state of Iowa, Irene Fay, who I suppose, for as much as she plays in Minnesota, we should probably make her an honorary Minnesotan. She's usually playing in the Monday night quads, right?
Yeah, I don't know about lately, but she used to be.
So let's see how we got here. So David Bookchuk is playing ready like becoming maybe like a with flexibility to go into a King's Indian attack setup. Irene Fay responds with a reverse London type setup, which is very useful to have because you can play it against a lot of different white setups. She plays h6 to keep the bishop from getting hunted down, and bishop e7, and is now going to castle at some point. And importantly, with her move order, she has not committed to c6 or c5. So she has some flexibility there, depending on how White continues his build-up. And now she's taking the flexibility to another level. Um, it's probably not a waste of time because most players behind the white pieces will respond to a3 without even thinking. So it might be looked upon as a move order deal. So knight d7 is played. My guess is the pawn, if it moves, is going to go to c6. And now we have queen e1. So first tension moment. Threatening e4, hoping to open the game up a bit more. Irene isn't impressed and plays c5. And so now we have, well, the kind of trench warfare that is common in these sort of positions, where they're both haggling to see who gets more in the center and maybe incrementally improve the pieces. And that's a bit of a bridge burning decision, if you ask me. It's tough though, because Black's central position is pretty tough, and in order to break it down, you often think, well, should I be playing moves like this, attacking the d pawn, the d5 pawn twice? And we'll see how Black approaches it. If Black is able to maintain the tension, or if she decides to close things, which she decided to close things with d4. And now we have kind of a reverse Benoni type position, with the pieces slightly off compared to a regular Benoni. And now there's some maneuvering going on, and White moved his knight away, giving him the opportunity to play this f4. Wow. What do you think of this moment?
Yeah, it's hard to judge. White obviously is gaining a lot of space on the king side, but I don't think that's necessarily going to lead to anything. I also don't think it's going to harm them too much either. So I think the game's still very much in the balance. It's just nice to have a more positional game than all of the other games we've been seeing so far.
Yes. Yes, this is definitely in that trench warfare category. Maybe White is intending to play f5. Maybe White is intending to play h5 and then g5 and hope to open things up. The important thing is that White has choices. Black has a solid position, but it seems as if she's maximally on the queen. I mean, she's as good as she's going to get on the queen side. It looks like at the moment. Question is, how does she address White's advances on the king side? Is f5 a thing? And the problem for black on the king side, of course, is that you play a pawn lever on that side, and that's where your king lives. So it might be that she has a little bit of groveling to do for a couple moves. It's interesting. Yeah, now I'm really liking um, white compared to black. Although, well, maybe there's
Queen G4, F5, stuff like that looks appealing. Partially because you're gaining more space and putting a little pressure on the black king, but also because you could open up your light squared bishop.
well, yeah. Well, the one problem is well, the
Oh,
the, the pawn on
D3.
d3 is still hanging. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe let's not do that.
So one question is, should white consider playing knight c2? Don't commit yet, or don't commit further on the king side yet until you exchange off the donkey on a1 for the knight on b4.
I do like that because if they take, obviously, knight c2, knight c2, queen c2, now you have you're rid of that pesky knight, and if they jump in with the other knight, well, now we just move the queen back, and that knight's a little bit stranded if we go for a kingside attack, and there's one less
Yeah,
piece involved in the center. So I do quite like that move.
and incidentally, we've also with that variation, we've also removed the queen from the e file, potentially making f5 more possible, not having to deal with the vis-a-vis of the rook against the queen on the e file. So yeah, so now it's a bit difficult to assess. I think f6. So bishop g6, I thought was a good move by her, trying to reanimate that bishop, and then f6 seemed brave but likely necessary. If black is allowed to their own devices, they capture on g5, and then they create another strong point with on the e5 square, where the other knight can go and help put pressure on d3. So bishop h5, offering exchange of queens, and capture happens. And this is an important moment because of that idea. And the question is, how does black intend to address it? And that seems as good as an idea as any. Let's see though.
I
So if
think
you
white,
try for, yeah,
I think white's gonna win this now because we don't know when the G pawn, and then I think that our G pawn is gonna promote, and we just have to play like King G2 and avoid perpetuals. But I hate to be hasty in any judgment, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say white's gonna win this.
yeah, I think white has better chances because g6 was allowed. And well, hold on a second. Maybe I'm getting that wrong. Because g6, if queen f6 is played, if she plays queen f6, well, she played queen d6, so we'll look at that soon. But if she plays queen f6 and then followed by knight e5,
Oh, but there must
oh,
be Bishop G5.
that's what I was going to say, bishop g5, yeah. And now it's actually losing. The black king suffers massively from a lack of squares, helped by this bishop controlling the e7 escape road. So if, for example, here now, queen check and say fini. So that explains queen d6, coincidentally threatening queen g3, um, while also allowing the king to have some squares. But that is interesting. So David figures he's got the trap sprung and she's not going to get out of it. So let's see if Irene is able to find perpetual. She doesn't need one, apparently. Oh, there's queen e1. Sorry, hello?
No, go ahead.
Oh, so there's queen e1 attacking the a1 knight. So it's not really giving up a piece just yet, but it seems as if white will be able to maintain an initiative after this.
Can we go back a move? I okay, I could be too hasty, but why can't we just take the knight on e7? And I don't think we're getting perpetual. Don't we run the
No,
king
I
up the
don't
board?
think so either. I don't think
And
so either. I think this
and we're just
is,
threatening mate.
yeah, yeah. I don't. I guess I was going to get back to this in a second after
Oh,
proving, but yeah, I was trying to figure out what her idea was. I said, okay, well, the a1 knight is hanging. That's probably what drew her to this. But this king is still in the mating net. And I don't see how. Well, maybe this is less cooperative because it's not clear um, what's going on now. So let's say the next check is this, I suppose.
yeah, I mean you can do king g3, queen d3, queen f3.
So queen d3, queen here, queen here,
And they have to take
and
or we mate them on f8.
exactly. And this is just losing for black. Sorry, losing for black. Yes, that's what I just said. Because it's a piece down and no not enough counterplay for it. So let's see here. I don't know. Wait a second. Why does that look familiar? Somebody's messing with the game scores.
Yeah, this is the Jacob Picus and Noah Stewart game.
Yeah, someone's trying to mess with our minds here. Don't be
Oh,
rude.
the game got actually, yeah, so you have to go back to the top of the game and you can see the alternate moves listed.
Oh, okay.
So it's still there. It's just, yeah, it's a bit odd.
Yeah, I think Bishop takes e7 is just winning. But maybe David wasn't. Maybe David thought this was winning enough, and so why bother? But
But now you're not saving your king. Your king's gonna get still perpetual.
well, this, yeah, I don't know. Maybe this is his idea, but why go for this when? Hmm.
I mean, this might still be winning, but it's not nearly as clean as bishop e7.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't see how Irene escapes after bishop takes e7. Let's go back to the live game and see. Oh, but this is where they're switching things up. All right, I'm officially confused. Let's see what happened in Simon's game. Simon won. Simon won. And oh, this is actually a pretty nice mating net that Simon weaved. Let's go back. I think we left here and said, okay, equalish position. And we were praising Nathan for working hard to get his majority moving. And after this sequence, at least I wasn't liking White's position because it just seemed like his pawns were much worse. And then Nathan got his rook to an active square. And yeah, everything just seemed to be flowing for Nathan. And then we'll see where the disaster struck. So it goes for an exchange of rooks. Nathan declines. Now he wants to take the g-pawn. That's an interesting maneuver. But is it a safe maneuver? And so Simon just decides, yeah, sure. Pick which way you want to capture the g-pawn. I've got more important things to do. Ah, that might be a problem. Yes, that is definitely a problem. Because now maybe there's no escape, actually. Because if he doesn't capture on g4, rook f6 is happening anyway. So if he captures, rook takes. And he wins a piece. Oh, that's a very antisocial concept right there. Why did this happen?
He might have had after rook f2, rook g3, bishop e4, maybe king c7.
Yes, king c7 works. The problem might be that we can get this in now.
Like king d7.
King d7 seems okay though, yeah. No king here. And those pawns.
Rook d3 maybe.
Yeah,
Both attacking and
keys.
defending.
And then let's say here.
Definitely would have been better than the game.
Yes. Yeah, because king c7 is definitely better than what happened in the game, it appears. Okay, that's mean. Threatening checkmate on the move. Wow, this is all forced. And there's no escaping checkmate on a8. Nicely done, Simon. Nicely done. It was a bit of a turnaround because I thought he was in trouble in the end game there. Let's see. Oh no, did Jacob lose on time? Is that for real or is that?
I doubt it.
Okay, it's probably not for real. This game ended in a draw. That is,
The swindle of the century.
and maybe David didn't want to roll the dice because he was much lower on time.
I
In fact, let's go back and see what the time situation was here, where he had the opportunity for bishop takes e7. So no, their time situations not bad. 20 minutes to 28.
and he spent a reasonable amount of time on the move. He just came up with the
Mm-hmm.
wrong move.
Yes. All right. Well, that was a neat escape for Irene for sure. Let's see. We'll take a look at David's Attelbauers versus Jason Wagner. We have a Queen's Gambit declined exchange variation.
White has a million
So
moves here.
yeah, I'm thinking myself, if I were to face this, what would be best? I might play Queen C2 only because even though I suspect that in this move order, it's working like a charm, I never really got into the knight GE2 setups for white in the Queen's Gambit declined exchange. So in this position, I'm talking about playing F3 now to follow with knight GE2 and then at some point generate the roller, and you're getting F3 for free, which you'd normally be trying to get in the knight GE2 positions. So, but I don't really have that much experience with knight GE2 because I'm often playing knight F3 early for flexibility in other openings. Um,
What's also wrong with so yeah, F3, bishop H5, and then bishop takes F6 and queen B3.
mm-hmm. Yep.
And are you saving B7 and D5? I don't know.
I don't think so. And even in this position, Queen B3 immediately has the threat of winning a pawn.
Yes, this is probably smoother.
And has advantage over F3 that it's not weakening the E3 square, which can be an issue in those knight E2 based systems with the early F3. Yeah, this just wins a pawn. Now, whether the pawn is worth taking is a different thing, but
I think it is, but I think
I
this
don't
is a
see a
good
problem.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think this is a good example of the importance for black in Queen's Gambit structures of proper placement of that light squared bishop, because that's usually the piece,
Yes.
he needs to place in an optimal square. And, we see him fianchettoing it on B7 a lot, but G4 is usually not the square, at least in my experience. And I was thinking even before Jason played bishop G4, he had the opportunity on, I believe, multiple moves to play bishop F5. And
Mm-hmm.
usually if your opponent allows that, um,
So like
you
here, and he could have
here,
played bishop F5 here,
yeah. Um,
is what you're saying.
I don't know if the same tactic comes into play with bishop F6
I
or
think
queen
it
B3 right
does.
away. Probably
I
does.
think it does.
But in general, this might not be the
So,
position to play bishop F5, but in general, if you can, I was taught by one of my former coaches to just play queen C2, so you never have to deal with bishop F5, because that just
yes.
helps black get their bishop on a good square.
Yeah. So yeah, so in this position, Queen C2 is a consideration um, right away to prevent Bishop F5 from happening. But in this specific position, um, because Black doesn't have c6 in, I think that's what makes this playable because bishop f5 isn't working at the moment. So you can actually afford to play this way because bishop f5 loses material to bishop takes f6 and queen b3.
Hmm.
And after 0-0, it's the same situation. As long as the pawn on d5 isn't fortified by c6, white can um, delay, but there's no need to at this point. It's after bishop g4. Yeah, I think maybe queen b3 might have been um, the more accurate way. So I kind of like White's position here. It just seems maybe a little bit more coordinated, his pieces.
Yeah.
Not sure that. Um, okay, we'll see what his plan is. Okay. So in a lot of these positions, these Carlsbad type positions, I would have thought maybe Davids would be looking to play the minority attack with rook b1 and then b4 and a4, b5, that sort of thing. Not that it's clearly winning or anything, but at least should be considered. So the dance going on here after the exchange on e4. So um, White's trying to claim that the e4 pawn is a target, but can't take it immediately because of the bad placement of his rooks. And then one of these guys might perish. So he captures, changes the pawn structure, and then brings his queen back so he can attack the pawn from c2. Figures he can try and chase the queen away. The queen stays on that diagonal, sort of pinning the knight to the rooks. And now the rooks are defending each other, and e4 is finally truly in danger. So black plays f5.
Hmm.
Okay. So we have a bit of a maneuvering game. Um,
Kind of seems like a position where neither side. Ooh, okay. I was gonna say a position where neither side can make progress, but that move might change things.
yes, I have my sympathies for a move like f4, but it just seems like it's asking for it in a way.
I think it loses to en passant. Knight takes
Yeah.
e6, rook takes e6, rook takes e6, queen takes e6, and f5. uh, oh, but maybe we can pin the rook on f8. So maybe it's not losing immediately, but it's probably too risky, but we'll see.
So I mean, you're looking at f4 immediately, or
I was looking at
take
knight
on e3 first.
knight e3 first, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
think it quite works.
This business,
Yeah, but then queen f3.
yeah, yeah, that's not working. Um, but I think this might be an interesting way to go about it. So if he now plays pawn takes, maybe queen takes, and then there's a pleasant endgame, maybe.
Yeah, at very
Um,
least, white just has that weakness on d4.
yes. So, but Jason decided not to open the position in the center, and instead brings his queen over to the king side, where Davids quickly goes hunting for it. So an exchange occurs, g6, and um, and black is a bit better, mainly on the basis of having a significantly better knight, um, and the fact that he could probably he'll improve his king's position, and then even at the cost of removing the d4 pawn, get his queenside pawns mobilized before white can do anything. Or he could do this way and continue advancing on the king side. This seems a bit. It seems like he could have, if he was going to go with this, maybe Jason improves the position of his king first, unless he's thinking of putting his rooks on the G and F files and leaving the king on H8, um, so as away from checks or something. Oh yeah, I suppose rook rook f1 isn't doable because of the simple knight e3. So Davids decides to change tack, and maybe he's looking to play g4 at some moment. Jason's playing very aggressively here. I don't think there's a doubt as to who has the initiative. And um, Jason's able to play this f4 with more confidence because his e4 pawn is under less pressure after knight f1. Because if the knight was still there, then he'd have to contend with knight e4 or rook e4 after pushing the f4 pawn. But now he's able to continue his steamroller. And yeah, this is not nice. That's a questionable decision. Should he have brought his king up, rather than give the white knight the f3 square? Or maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe,
Yeah, I think g4, and you probably lose the pawn.
yeah. So it appears, oh, I was about to say, it appears that white has hunkered down, and now all of a sudden we have an exchange sack for a pawn, and I think Jason has enough compensation for said pawn for the exchange.
Yes, I agree. Oh,
A little bit of an accident, maybe. This allowing g4. It just so happens that he has to take en passant because the knight otherwise hangs. And now after this, he's losing control. I suppose he could play rook d4, or, well, rook there works as well to get a draw. If he had wanted to play on for win, I don't know if rook d4 does a trick or not. Might be too risky. The king just isn't well placed. So let's see where Jason might have gone wrong here, because it felt like he was on the verge of a winning position to me. Um,
It kind of did, but I never saw a breakthrough. It seemed like David's was just holding on, and I didn't see a pawn push that would have really won it.
you might be right there, actually. So this is a moment that I thought he could have done a bit differently. So instead of rook there, maybe knight here, and then rook to the side. Uh, so let's say he plays king here.
Yeah, it is seemingly a position where black can just play on and on and on.
Yes.
Mhm.
But he found a way. He saw the line that forced a draw. I think that was his insurance policy. Is that worst case scenario he has this draw in hand.
Do you want to
Okay.
show? Do you want a quick show what happens after Rook D2 and King F3?
At
Just at the end here, just
here.
for
Okay.
yeah.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Yes. Say hello. So, um, yeah. There is one. Okay. Now I'm confused. Is this game actually still going? Yes, it is. Apparently.
Well, I think yeah. So it even disappeared for me too. Like the actual moves are gone.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh really?
whereas before, they just it kind of went into like a subline where now you can't even see them at all. So unfortunately, we do not have the moves for this one.
I can
Where we
see some moves though. I can
ma-
see
oh,
moves
you
here.
can.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I
I
can
mean,
see these moves as well, but this
it still
is
has this craziness though, which I can't.
yeah. Since we don't have anything better, I would surmise that where we left off before it got really crazy, I think Noah had a nice position, although
Yes.
it made no sense that he didn't take on e6. So maybe that was
Yes.
also maybe bishop b5 was also an error in the
In
inputting.
the transmission. Yeah. Yeah, that didn't make any sense. Not taking the pawn and then going back to attack the pawn again. Um, didn't seem most intuitive. Um, Let me see. Okay. So I guess we have to leave this one alone, unfortunately, if we're not sure about the accuracy of the transmission. We do have a game between Maxwell and Joel
Hmm.
that we haven't looked at yet. And so this one started off as a Queen's Gambit declined, and now is potentially in Tarrasch defense territory. And we're kind of in a Tarrasch now. So with the approach Joel's taking, it's maybe a little bit passive. Um, he could have considered taking on c5 here, for example, and asked Maxwell to show him what he's got. With e3, it then means that white won't be the only person able to pick on an isolated queen pawn, because now both queen pawns are isolated, and it becomes who's able to put more effective pressure or find other targets in addition to the one they already have. So then the castle, and now black is attacking d4 three times and attacking b2. Meanwhile, white doesn't have sufficient defenders of the d pawn, but he does have knight a4, which comes in handy, forcing the queen away from b6. But the queen is able to go to b4, which still keeps pressure on the d pawn. So I don't know what's going on here. If a3 were played instead, um,
This seems preferable to b3 at least, because after b3,
yeah,
I don't know why we can't take on d4 again.
yeah, let's see. That seems a bit extravagant. I don't know that that's necessary. I think
I think
unless we're missing something, I think this should just be well, and um, although maybe the tactical justification is that on top of everything else, there's that pressure down the long diagonal a1 to h8 that black might be able to take advantage of. Bishop g4, removing the defender. Now here, is this working?
it still should be, right? Because they have to take on d4 first. And yeah, I don't know, bishop d4, I guess.
Yeah, bishop d4 seems. So say knight takes.
Yeah, because if bit yeah, yeah. I think both lines are winning too, because yeah, but yeah.
Um, but he decides to go about it a different way. So he's pinning the knight, which is reducing the defense of d4. But now knight d3 comes with tempo. And that might be a bit careless. Okay, well, it's potentially winning an exchange, I guess, actually. So now we get a series of somewhat complicated tactics. So desperados galore. Um, and now, at the end of all this, it's white who's actually a pawn up. Surprise, surprise. Make that two pawns, although he's losing his d pawn going after that a pawn, and that might be the reason for his position's collapse. Because after bishop takes d4, forking the knight on a7 and the rook on a1, all of a sudden black is doing a lot better. Well, he's getting material back. I shouldn't say he's doing a lot better. He's getting material back. Um,
I saw an
so,
interesting line. At least it looked good.
yeah.
Yeah, so back here, after bishop d4, white may be able to hang on after rook e8, and then rook c1. And if bishop a7, rook c7.
Ah, So let's see. Do that first.
King G2.
King G2. And then let's see. We run away. Where we put our bishop? We'll put our bishop. Okay, maybe we'll put him on D4.
Yeah, so rook F7, King H8, and or King H7. And yes,
Yeah, either one.
white is still worse, but definitely yes, he has two pawns for a bishop. There's hope to save it. We'll see if this ends up being better than the game, but
In the
this was at
game.
least interesting.
Yeah, this is actually this material imbalance here is actually quite interesting to me. So it's got exchange for two pawns, but the two pawns are passed and connected. So if Joel's able to organize his pieces in the best way, it might be difficult for Maxwell. On the other hand, Maxwell has light square weaknesses to play around with on the king side. Um, Maybe he's able to generate some kind of threats around the white king. We'll see. That already seems like a dangerous move in a way. I don't think it. Maybe there's no choice actually, but taking the bishop away from the long diagonal seems like it's asking for it. Huh? Oh, because the rook on e8 is also hanging. Oh, these guys are playing some imaginative chess. Okay, the problem though is um, I think these exchanges kind of work out in black's favor. White no longer has collected passed pawns, and the position is fairly open. So the rook potentially will be better than whichever minor piece plus pawn or pawns. Um, of course, it does depend on whether this guy is able to stay alive. And I guess the rest of the game will show us if he succeeded.
But I think we can agree that white shouldn't be losing this game.
Yeah. White should not be losing this game. As long as they don't lose their head, they should be fine. How did that happen?
I mean, yeah, for the longest time, rook b4 was playable, right?
Yeah. So let's see what's going on here. So at this moment, rook b4 is possible. He plays g5 instead.
And perhaps rook f2. I mean, f2 was hanging at some point there too.
It's not clear where white makes progress in the meantime, though. But
Oh, and in fact, there's probably deflection tactics, right? b7, rook b2, and bishop b5, probably.
oh yeah, there's well, you need to be careful. So that's actually let's look at that line. So if here, we play b7 right away.
Oh, did we just give two moves for? No, we didn't. Oh yeah, b7.
So play b7, bishop a6.
Okay, so now it doesn't work. So do we have to play bishop b5 right away?
And
Wait, no,
the
but then it
thing
doesn't
with
work.
bishop,
Then
yeah,
that doesn't work.
yeah, then it doesn't work because it gets take and um. So actually, maybe we read this wrong, and White's been in trouble this whole time.
Well, I don't think he had to be, but yeah, I think it was slightly misplayed.
'Cause, yeah, once this is doable, now of course it's possible that with a lot of luck he can hold it. He doesn't need to resign right away, but it does
Oh,
seem like it's going to be a difficult one. Now, this is actually a technically difficult question to answer, but you can answer it with concrete analysis. Um, if if f3 were played instead, is there a way um, for black to break through? And I
I
don't
don't
know
think
what the
so.
answer to that is. Yeah.
As long as the king never gets to f4, then we're fine.
Yes. And the king,
Ooh.
okay, he dodged a bullet because the king had just been granted f4. Now he takes it. Oh man, we don't have the move times, so it's unclear what was going on. Um, so I think this is even okay. This is fine. That loses.
Mm-hmm. Good find by
But
Maxwell.
yeah, very, very, very nice find by Maxwell. And um, yeah, it is a difficult position to defend as black. I mean, as white. So I'm not sure whether eventually Joe is going to be able to find a way, but Maxwell definitely took advantage of his opportunities. All right, I think we've done most of the games. Maybe there's just one.
I just
Kevin.
went through them. There's two left. There's Kevin and also Nathan versus Suijon.
Okay, so let's look at those. And an exchange Karo Khan. Interesting decision. So Kevin's come out of the opening with a decent position, at least equal, and ready potentially for a minority attack as a possible plan. He has other plans as well. But he does go for the minority attack. And now he has a bishop versus a knight. Um, I thought he was intending to go with knight h5 to try and induce a weakness on the king side. And then decide what he's going to do. Maybe come back to f4, maybe. But he can't really prevent b4 from happening. And if he was trying to do that, then a better way might be knight d3. But even with knight d3, yeah, knight d3 might slow down b4 a bit. But uh, knight e2 seems a bit passive, just maybe trying to hold on to the c3 pawn. Yep, that was the motivation, to be able to play b4 and have the knight protect c3.
I feel like Kevin should have played b4 exactly instead of queen b8. I don't know why he didn't.
Yes, yes. This seems unnecessary. B4 right away seems. Sorry, let me put it on the board. B4 right away seemed to have its merits. And then with this, he's closed down the queen side. Um, and in a way, his efforts on the queen side now depend on being able to um, take advantage of C3 pawn, maybe the C4 square, but it seems hard to make real progress there unless you're going to sacrifice at some point. The king had to go to H8 to avoid queen takes H6. And now Kevin wisely offers an exchange of queens, reducing the pressure against his king. I really want you to exchange queens, sir. Or man, I'm not sure if Aditya is a female. Okay, so a bit more maneuvering going on. And Kevin really wants those queens exchanged. All right, so Kevin's the first one to make a break first in a long time. And the break is strengthened because of the pin. Hmm. So white has, maybe white can play rook e3 and see if that allows survival. But black is definitely has better chances here because of the way the pawn structure is on the queen side. That doesn't automatically translate to a win.
Oh,
Yeah, that. Wait a second. Was that necessary?
well, we should look at H5, right?
Yeah. Wait a second. So G5 was played.
Oh, I'm hallucinating. Never mind.
No, but I was concerned about F5 here immediately. Maybe it doesn't make a difference. Because you're going to basically, Kevin will have the so-called fox in the chicken coop if this is played. And then the power of the OPP appears because as the white king is going after this pawn, this guy will harvest the queenside pawns. Is the general idea. So anyway, so eventually transposed into that situation in the game. And here we have a trebuchet position. And because black was able to get to touch the enemy pawn first, that gives them the advantage. And after this, he has to give up the pawn. And yeah, now it's just smooth sailing.
But I do believe White could have saved themselves with G5 on move 52. And not only saved themselves, but they might have even been able to win.
G5 here, yes. And this is why I was thinking f5 needed to be played here rather than um, exchange on h4 first. You play f5 here and see how white responds. And this one seemed to be more straightforward. But yeah, this at this moment here, g5. And the difference compared to the other line is that the white king, isn't dragged so far away from the queen side. And if, in fact, actually in this position, if he captures, which he probably has to, he might be losing. Right? Black is probably at least worse in this position, even though, let's see, how does it even hold? Is there a way to hold?
I don't think so.
No. So g5 might have actually been a winning move in that position. See, these king and pawn endings are a lot more complicated than they appear on the surface. A lot of times. We have Srijan versus Nate. I think that's our last one for the night. So Vienna.
Oh, wait. Did I miss something after bishop c5, f4? Isn't bishop g1 just winning for black?
I would think so. Let's see.
Nathan doesn't want to? I don't know.
Well, let me see. So here, yeah, in this position, right?
Yep.
You're saying here, there.
Queen
Actually, how does
h4, and
this?
I don't know how white's. I mean, they're not like losing a piece, but this is not how you should play. Queen h1. Hmm, maybe it's. Maybe it's fine.
It's a crazy position. I don't know. That seems kind of foolish. Maybe pawn takes pawn or whatever at this point. This has been seen, and white in the master database, there are 3 games here. White won every single one.
Yeah, okay, so this is bad.
I don't know why white won every single one, but white did. None of the games featured queen h4 though.
Yeah, I was too hasty.
But okay, let's see what happens here. So that's not a pawn structure you see every day.
For good reason.
Okay, Srishan, I think you just take on f4. Just be simple. The problem with, I don't know how this game is going to go in terms of the results of this, but giving this knight the d5 square probably isn't in best interest, because then they're able to um, get you to give up your bishop for the knight. And now with possible sides and all that, I think black has enough compensation in terms of activity for his broken pawns. Ah, trying to take advantage of the pin against the king, and all of a sudden, Nate's able to bail out into a favorable. It's weird that this ending is favorable, but it actually is favorable for Black because he has White kind of tied up. Although maybe Knight f4 might be a liberating attempt. All right. And now all of a sudden, I'm liking White's chances.
Problem is, black's just up a pawn.
Yeah. Well, I didn't say I didn't say what I like White's chances for. I liked his chances of drawing now, but I don't know whether he's going to be able to do that. Well, let's see. Yeah, no, this is the knight's going to get dominated. This is not going to be a fun game for White. And now it's just lost. Because the king and pawn ending is elementary for somewhat of Nathan's strength. So yeah, that was a interesting bit of a fight. I didn't know what was going on in the opening, and wasn't completely sure what was going on in the middle game. But the end game seemed that Nathan always had slightly better chances with the bishop versus knight. Um, let's see. I think we covered everything, and we're getting a bit late, so we can sign off around here. And any other announcements for the castle this weekend?
Not for the castle, just regular stuff. For YouTube. Check out the stuff in the description, guys. You can go to a castle Discord. It's linked there. Streams always sponsored by Chess Goals. You can save 30% with the coupon code CASTLE. And then our other sponsorship is Webeccentric. They empower small businesses. You can read that in the description there. And then you can also shop with them at shop.webeccentric.com. There's a lot of cool merch there that you can check out. And that's run by a local chess player at the club. So definitely make sure to check that out and get some cool stuff. But with that being said, we will see you all next week. I believe it's us two again, but we'll see.
Cool. All right. Have a good night.